Dad stood in front of the kitchen sink, scrolling through his phone like it was a throne he earned instead of a bill I had been paying for 4 years. The water dripped, one slow drop at a time, and Mason sat on the floor drawing dinosaurs with a dull pencil, his little 5-year-old legs tucked underneath him like he'd learned to stay small in this house. I had just gotten home from a 12-hour shift at the call center. My shoulders felt like cement. My brain felt like static. And Dad didn't even look up when I walked in. "Phone's out of data," he said flat, like announcing weather. "You'll pay it tonight. I need it for tomorrow. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." I put my bag down and leaned against the counter. "I already paid my part of rent," I said. My voice wasn't loud. It wasn't disrespectful. It was tired. "I'm not paying your phone bill anymore." The second the words left my mouth, the silence wasn't silence anymore. It was pressure. Mom turned from the stove, slow like a judge preparing her ruling. She didn't ask why. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't even blink. Dad turned toward me like I just insulted oxygen. "You think you get to decide that?" he said. He laughed once, not because it was funny, because he thought this was still his stage. "You think you have boundaries now?" "I'm barely keeping up," I said. "I have my own bills. I have my son. I have—" He crossed the room fast. I didn't even finish the sentence. The first slap knocked my head sideways. A hot static shot down my jaw. Mason dropped his pencil. He froze like a deer that learned very early that loud movement equals pain. The second slap came before I could inhale. The third one blurred. The fourth made my ear ring. The fifth felt like my teeth shook. The sixth was out of rhythm. Dad's hand slipped slightly, and that small, clumsy second is the only reason the seventh felt like the final punctuation instead of a strike. 7. He counted violence like it was grammar. Mom didn't flinch. She didn't gasp. She didn't say stop. She didn't even say wait. She just nodded once like a principal approving a disciplinary strike. "This is character education," she said calmly. "This is what entitlement needs." Dad exhaled like he had just finished a chore. He walked back to his phone like nothing happened. Mason crawled into my lap quietly. He didn't talk. He didn't cry loud. He pressed his forehead into my shirt like he was protecting the sound inside him from escaping. His breath shook like small paper. I held him even though every nerve in my face was screaming. Mom poured herself juice like she was watching a weather update. "She needs reminders," she said. "She keeps thinking she's independent, but she was raised by wolves. She forgets this family built her." Dad smirked. "She'll pay it by morning," he said. "She always breaks eventually." I swallowed blood in my mouth but didn't let it drip out. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I didn't prove anything. I carried Mason upstairs and put him in bed beside me, his little hand gripping my shirt tight like he was anchoring us both to the world. I laid there staring at the ceiling fan, spinning like time that didn't care about damage or bruises or memory, and something inside me didn't snap violently. It shifted like a joint finally aligning after being dislocated too long. I understood something that night. They didn't actually fear losing me. They feared losing access to me. That 7-slap sequence wasn't punishment. It was a reminder of their ownership. And lying there in the dark with my son breathing against my arm, I decided that access was going to end. Not tomorrow, not loudly, strategically, permanently. And this time I was going to become the one holding the doorway they needed. And they were never going to see it coming. The next morning, I went to work with my jaw aching every time I spoke. I kept my headset a little offset so the pressure wouldn't spike the pain. Every time a customer raised their voice on the phone, my body flinched like my nervous system had learned to anticipate a hand instead of a sentence. But I didn't go home and collapse like every other time before. Something different was moving through my chest. Not adrenaline, not rage, clarity. Damage wasn't new, but having direction was. During lunch, I opened the job portal on my screen and filtered positions not by comfort, but by leverage. I made a list of fields that my parents had always depended on me for: corporate banking communication, insurance navigation, account setup, digital billing systems, all the invisible labor I did for them. I applied to 4 entry-level admin roles in those exact industries, not because I was looking for something better, but because I was aiming for a future choke point. 1 month later, after 2 interviews and 1 skills test, I got hired at a mid-sized wireless telecom company in billing management support. My parents had no idea that this company would one day be the gatekeeper to their phone line survival. The first day felt unreal. I sat at the training desk wearing my badge with a name printed alone, not attached to any of theirs, not referenced under their household. Independent identity, issued, laminated. The benefits package was better, the pay was higher, and the upward mobility track was actually real. They trained internally into approvals, escalations, fraud prevention, and eventually account authority positions. I spent evenings with Mason at the kitchen table of the small apartment I rented. He colored dinosaurs while I studied internal systems, escalation authority documents, retention policies. I didn't learn this for show. I was learning for future control. Meanwhile, at home, my parents' financial situation quietly started collapsing behind the scenes. Rent increases. Dean still failing to get stable work. The car payment Mom expected me to help with was past due twice. They started texting more, asking less politely, hinting that my silence was cruel. Dad tried sending guilt-coated voice notes like sermons. I let them rot in unanswered iMessage blue bubbles, but I wasn't finished building the reversal yet. I waited until month 7, when I was promoted to account supervisor for retention authorization. That made me a person in the system who could authoritatively approve or deny account-level requests, legally, professionally, and with zero emotional involvement needed. I never told them where I worked. I never told them I leveled up. I never reminded them of the 7 slaps or the character education. I just built the barricade in silence while smiling politely at my coworkers and bringing Mason dinosaur stickers for his medical folders. The first sign the trap was about to spring was when I got a group text from my mom. Dad's phone is suspended. We need you to reinstate it. He has an important lead tomorrow. Handle the payment and we'll pay you back. The message wasn't a request. It was written like an operating system command. In the past, I would have felt my stomach drop. This time, I sat back, and I smiled. They didn't know the irony yet. They didn't know who they just tried to demand from this time, because I no longer lived under their roof. I now worked inside the system they depended on, and they were about to learn what real character education feels like, but taught from the position above, not beneath. I waited 2 days before responding to their text, not to punish them emotionally, but to allow natural panic to do what it does best. Make abusers reveal how much they relied on the person they claimed was worthless. On the 3rd morning, Dad called from a friend's phone. He didn't open with hello. He opened with, "You know what happens when men can't communicate? They look weak. I won't let you humiliate this family. Fix my phone line now." I was sitting at my workstation with dual monitors open. Their last 4 digits entered on my right screen, their billing profile open in front of me like an X-ray. My coworker to the left was tapping his pen, half listening to his own call. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't feed the fire. I said one calm sentence. I can't reinstate what I no longer have responsibility for, and what I'm not legally obligated to cover. Dad scoffed. You were raised with obligations. You exist because of us. You pay our bills because that's how loyalty works. That's how family works. I stared at the suspension code blinking red on my screen. You slapped me 7 times because I said no 1 time, I said quietly. That's the loyalty you taught me. He snarled something and hung up. 5 minutes later, my mother texted, "You're doing this to punish us. You're being emotional. You're being dramatic. You know Dad can't lose contact right now. You know he has meetings. Stop playing victim and pay it." 2 hours later, they had no working phone route left. Dad drove to the company location. He walked into my building, straight-faced, like a king entering territory he already owned. He didn't know what floor I was on, but his tone carried through the lobby when he argued with front desk security that his daughter works here and she owes him service. I watched this from the second-floor glass window, with my employee badge hanging around my neck, while Mason sat in the corner office daycare coloring dinosaurs quietly. He demanded access. He demanded privilege. He demanded history to still dictate present. It didn't. Security escorted him out because I had already placed a restriction flag on his profile and filed preemptive harassment risk status after previous abuse. He wasn't escorted because he was family. He was escorted because he was an unauthorized, disruptive civilian in a corporate building. That was the shift. That was the pivot point. The next night, my mom called from a neighbor's phone crying hysterically, not apologizing, but screaming about how humiliating it was that the front desk didn't respect them, that I chose a job over blood, that I destroyed the family tree to prove a point. I didn't cry. I didn't scream back. I didn't debate. I said 2 sentences. You called violence character education. This is the real version. You taught me this. Then I blocked every number. Permanently. 3 weeks later, their phone account got closed entirely for non-payment. The carrier placed them on account restriction, meaning any future line activation under their names would require deposit verification and credit risk evaluation. They were forced to get prepaid burners from dollar stores because no major company would approve them without high financial proof. Meanwhile, I continued to get promoted. I wasn't living rich. I wasn't flaunting anything. I wasn't living cinematic fantasy. I was just 3 steps upward in a corporate ladder they always mocked. But I now understood the power of. I rebuilt from bruised jaw and motel nights to a duplex rental with a small backyard and a son who felt safe enough to sleep without flinching at footsteps. Dad's free lines? Gone. Mom's manipulative access? Closed. Their hierarchy? Collapsed from top down because they no longer controlled the one person they depended on for invisible labor. Revenge wasn't burn the world flashy. Revenge was becoming the person whose no had legal, structural, real-world consequence attached. Mason turned 6 the following summer. We sat at the picnic table in the backyard and he said, "Mom, we don't live scared anymore." He was right. We didn't. And the people who once slapped me 7 times to force compliance now lived at the mercy of systems I oversaw in small, subtle ways. They taught me what power looked like. I learned how to build power somewhere they couldn't touch. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.